Hey everyone, welcome back to the iHeart Podcast. My name is Jonathan North, and in today's episode, we're going to be looking back at another previous episode of iHeart Animation, but this isn't going to be a complete rerun. In fact, the majority of the episode is going to be brand new content. To start this episode, we're going to be looking back at the final episode I did last December before getting into the Christmas season. Last year, Rachel Wagner recommended the film April and the Extraordinary World to me. I had never seen it, but I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed talking about it with Rachel. Also, before we get into this, I should give you a slight spoiler warning. We do discuss some of the film's twists, so if you haven't seen it yet, I recommend giving it a watch before you listen to our podcast. Like I said, I really enjoyed it, and I highly recommend it. But if you don't really care about spoilers, then feel free to listen on. I should also mention, for those of you watching on YouTube, you'll probably notice that this part is fully edited. Yeah, I basically took the whole video from YouTube for this one. I'm not entirely sure I have the original file to go back to. Plus, the second half of this podcast is far longer than the first, and I only have so much free time. I figured I'd save myself just a bit of headache for this episode and use what I've already got. Plus, this way you get some fancier editing than I normally do for a podcast. I know not many people saw the original video, so if you're one of those people, then maybe this is brand new for you. Okay, let's get on to the episode.
Hi everybody, I am Rachel from Rachel's Reviews, and I love animation, and I love Disney and indie animation. I have obscure animation. Every month, me and my friend Stanford do a podcast where we talk about underappreciated and sometimes obscure kind of animated films that we like to bring to the surface and talk about. It's really fun. So April and the Extraordinary World is one that I really enjoy. And so it's going to be a lot of fun to talk about.
Yeah, so why don't you tell us a little bit about the movie and why you chose it?
So I chose April and the Extraordinary World because I think it is a very inventive, very creative film that I think more people should see. There are parts of it that I admit are divisive that you're either going to go with or not go with. And I partly picked it because I really felt like Jonathan would like it. Cross fingers. I felt like it had a little bit of some of the feel of some of the things that we've talked about when we talked about Doctor Who. I think that it's probably the best steampunk has ever been translated into movie form. Most steampunk movies are terrible because they're just so focused on style and the substance is not there. And something like The Wild Wild West or League of Extraordinary Gentlemen are just some really epically terrible movies. But in this case, you actually get to see what a world would literally be like. It's not just wearing funny clothes like steampunk. It's what the world would be like if we had stopped progressing at steam. And I think that that's really interesting and creative. And the whole idea of sort of all of the scientists have been taken. And so you have this character of April that has to kind of figure out, including her parents. And I like the fact that her parents aren't like paragons of virtue by any step, anything. So there's some complexity there, some interesting things happen there. I think, I mean, it's not perfect. There's little things that could be better, but I love the visual style and the world building, and I find it a real fun little movie.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite things, like right off the bat at the very beginning, I really liked how it looked. Yeah. Like it was such a unique looking film because it looked more like a graphic novel than any animated film that I've seen in a while. Just the sharp black lines when everything was drawn and the way things were colored, like the color and the shading, it just felt like a graphic novel come to life. And I loved that about it. It was just really good.
Yeah, I really like that about it too. It's based on the visual style of this French cartoonist named Jacques Tardy, and the people behind this were also behind the Persepolis, which is another movie that I really enjoy, really think is brilliant. And it's not well, they're really different, so it's hard to compare. But yeah, I really did also like the colors, the reds, everything looked like a world that had stayed at Steam. Everything was a little bit dirty, a little bit, sort of smoggy. And I think they captured that almost a bit of a film noir feel at certain times pretty well. And there's even some moments that feel a little bit of a Miyazaki feel to them. You have a talking cat that definitely feels very Miyazaki, and some of the other flying inventions, flying things feel very Miyazaki. And so it's an interesting combination of French themes, steampunk themes, anime themes, a lot of different stuff, science fiction. And so that's pretty cool.
It's interesting that you draw the comparisons to Persepolis, because that actually had crossed my mind while I was watching it. It's not like exactly like Persepolis, but there was enough similarities that I felt like it was close, and that makes perfect sense if some of the same people may have been behind both movies.
Yeah, I mean, I wish that the European animation scene, I guess, for lack of a better word, has been able to take off the way that the anime scene has been able to take off. And I don't know if the main difference has just been that there is more of a television presence in anime. I don't know, but there's just so much quality animation coming out of Europe right now. Everything from Aardman, which is brilliant most of the time, to Cartoon Saloon with Song of the Sea and Secret of the Kells. That whole studio is doing incredible things. The Breadwinner was amazing last year. From them, you have this whole Studio Canal. I don't know. It's really interesting. I love Cat in Paris. That's a really wonderful film. But other movies, I mean, like Shaun of the Sheep. Like, why is that not a bigger hit over here? I don't understand. It's so sweet, so delightful. And I don't know. It's just an interesting thing. I just don't understand why some of these haven't hit the way that, like I said, anime seems to have been able to hit. There's a lot of really interesting stuff happening over there, and I wish that it could get a broader audience. And this is available on Netflix, so if you're willing to give it a shot, then you can watch it.
Yeah, I wish the theaters would give films like this more of a shot in the U.S.
Yeah.
I've complained to you about this a lot. I never get to see these films when they come because they never come to a theater near me. And if they do, it's like one day, and like I have 2 jobs, so I can't always make that work. So it feels like they're not given enough of a fair shake in the U.S.
Yeah, I mean, this movie, I get it with this movie, but there's other movies that, because this movie takes some risks and does some things that not everyone's going to like. So we're going to talk some spoilers.
Yeah, I was just going to say, up until now, we've avoided spoilers, but I do want to get into some things that happen later on in the movie.
Yeah.
Did you have something specific you want to talk about?
Well, I think what happens with the villains is definitely the most polarizing thing that is not going to be for everybody. So she ends up finding her grandfather, which I really like her grandfather, and this is really, really great. And they end up having this moving house, which is, again, very Miyazaki.
I thought the same thing. I was like, this is just like Howl's Moving Castle.
Yeah.
I love that. I wish it had survived.
Yeah. And they get to the place where her parents are. And what was interesting is that her mother has basically agreed with her captors that this is a kind of a noble thing, what they're doing. And they're sort of cloistering all of the smart people in this one spot, kind of a thing. And it's kind of devastating for April.
Yeah, I liked that they had her mom not be perfect. Yeah. And I like that there was some conflict there. I wasn't clear 100% on what the plan was. I don't think they were going to actually kill everybody on Earth, because that was what the main villain decided he was going to do at the end. Were they just going to terraform other planets? Or was there something more sinister going on?
Yeah, like the point I think was the reason why her mother was agreeing to this is the idea is they were coming up with this perfect oil as this energy source, and that would stop war over energy sources, over fuel, and that would lead to all these great creations, and everything would be great, so that's kind of how they got it to that point. But really, like, what the villain is after is this perfect source to purely fuel, like, plants kind of taking over the world, for lack of a better word. It's this this serum, I guess, and that's why they were particularly after April, is this to make this super vegetable kind of a thing.
Okay, so let's talk about the ultimate reveal. The identity of the villains, which I think is what you were talking about as being the most divisive thing. The villains turn out to be really smart lizards.
Yeah.
So what did you think of that reveal?
It was definitely a surprise, and I could see why it wouldn't work for everybody. And I did read some reviews that were like, it was great until the lizards. So I get it.
Did you see the lizard thing coming, or was it a surprise to you when they were finally unmasked?
It was a surprise to me, for sure.
I saw it coming.
Oh, you did?
At the very beginning, you see two lizards escape this lab that gets blown up. And I was like, what was with those lizards? Why did they have the lizards run away? Where did they go? And I was like, they better come back to those lizards. I want to know what's going on with the lizards. Why could they talk? Like, where were they going? What became of them? This is like, I don't know, 50 years later. It's like something has to be going on with the lizards. And it was getting further and further in the movie. I was like, oh, I want to know what's going on with the lizards, where they went. And then you see these bad guys in shadows are like, those are the lizards. I was so excited. The lizards
you really like the lizards.
Yes. I love weird things. And I love that it turned out that the lizards were the ultimate masterminds behind this evil plan.
Yeah. Yeah. It was definitely out there. And so, but like I said, I understand if it's too out there for some people. I get it. But I thought it was fun for this kind of steampunky, kind of out there sort of movie. It worked for me. I think that the only part of this movie that to me doesn't really work is the boyfriend character. Like, I didn't need him.
He was fine, but it wasn't like, I don't know. I didn't hate him. I didn't love him. He was just fine.
Yeah. He was a little annoying for me, but I just didn't sense any chemistry at all between him and April at all. So
yeah,
it didn't really work for me. But yeah, it's just a back and forth between these lizards and our whole crew. And yeah.
I get why people might be turned off by the end and the ultimate reveal with the lizards, but I really liked it. I like things that are different, and this was very different. Like, this is one of those movies that at the beginning I was like, oh, I like how this looks, but it's like, I wasn't like too invested, but as it went on and more things were revealed and more things kept happening, I was like, this is just getting better and better. And by the time the lizards hit, I was like, this is great. I love this movie.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. Yeah, it's definitely one that takes some risks, and that's, I think, a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I liked April as a character, and you got kind of Darwin there, the cat, for some funny lines, some comic relief when it's getting tense, which I think worked pretty well. I just think it's very inventive and is continually kind of surprising you and continually doing something new. I was never bored, watching it. Yeah, so I think it's a pretty good movie. I think people should check it out, give it a shot.
Yeah, I'm glad you recommended it. It was one that I'd heard about, but like most of the ones that I'm watching these for my show are ones that people are recommending to me, so I'm glad you recommended this one.
Oh, well, good.
You know my taste.
That's good.
Like I mentioned before, the first part of this episode was pretty short. So short that the bonus segment of the episode is almost twice as long. Since I knew this was going to be one of my shorter episodes, and since I wanted to give my listeners a chance to get to know my guests, I thought I would do another Q&A, this time with Rachel. Okay, well, thanks for coming back and doing this with me. So I just have a few questions. For the first part, it's going to be more about you, and then the second part is like your favorite things and stuff.
Okay.
So first off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Like, where do you work? Do you have any pets, hobbies, things like that?
Okay. Yes. So I'm Rachel. I live in Draper, Utah, which is about 35 minutes south of Salt Lake. And I've lived here for since 2005, believe it or not. And then before that, I was in Indiana for about 2 years on my mission for my church. And then I was in Utah before that. So I've been in Utah for most of my adult life. And, I really, even though it gets cold and I don't love that, I do love living here, and there's a lot of advantages to living here. And, I've had my own place, my own townhouse for 6 years, which I'm really proud of. I have a YouTube channel and a podcast channel, 2 podcasts that I love very much. And I also have 2 blogs, one personal blog, Smiling LDS Girl, and one blog, 54 Disney Reviews, for all of my movie reviews. And I just love watching movies, particularly animated films, and talking about them. And I also love romantic comedies and have a lot of fun watching a bunch of Hallmark movies with my friends. So yeah, it's a pretty good life. I feel very blessed.
That kind of leads me into another question I was going to ask. How did you get into YouTube?
You know what? It was originally, I started actually as an unboxer for subscription boxes, and I still do it from time to time on my channel. I haven't done one for a little while just because I've been so busy, but that was how I originally started, and it was really low tech when I first started. I just was opening stuff with my webcam without editing, or it was just all live stream. It was pretty rough, and me putting items right up in front of the camera. It wasn't the greatest, but I was having fun, and that was the most important thing. And then I started posting because I had done some reviews on my personal blog, and so I started doing a couple different movie reviews just for fun, and I really enjoyed it. And then I tore my MCL in my knee in 2014. And I decided that I needed something to do to engage myself while I was bedridden basically for 3 months. I could hardly move very much. And so I started writing and reviewing the Disney canon, which had been something that I'd always dreamed of doing. And at the time, there were just 54 Disney films in the Disney canon. And so that's why I called because I was only planning on the blog being for that project. That was the idea. And so that's why I called it 54 Disney Reviews. If I was thinking like a good SEO blogger, I would have called it something else, but that's what I called it. And anyway, and so I reviewed the Disney canon, and it was such a great experience, and I had so much fun doing it that I started reviewing more movies on my blog and then also on my channel. And then I got kind of discouraged with edited video reviews, because they were just, if you wanted to do them, make them interesting, then you would always get a copyright strike, and it was just a copyright thing, and that was frustrating. And so I figured, get together with my friends and just start talking about the films, and they couldn't copyright ping me for just talking about them.
That's kind of the same thing with me right now. That's what I'm going through. I'm kind of slowly switching over to more podcasting than actual edited video.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, it really is. I still do my family movie night each week. Mm-hmm. And I had done Friday 5 for such a long time. That was a great experience. And then I just got assaulted with copyright stuff for those videos, which was very frustrating. So now it's pretty much family movie night is my only kind of regular every week. I have that edited review, and it's usually just me with the poster. That's it anymore, which is, it's a shame because, you know, some of that creativity isn't quite there. Every once in a while I'll still try to, you know, and just not care about it being monetized. I'll do something like I have my series that I've done on Did the Right One Win, where I usually use a clip of the trailer to decide, do I think the right animated film won for best animated film. So that, as soon as the Oscars are over, that video will come out. And I still have to do my Ralph Breaks the Internet video for my Disney Canon, because I went and reviewed the Disney Canon on my channel. So I've done it twice. And it's really fun. Me and my friend Stanford have been doing a Talking Disney podcast for over a year now, where we are reviewing the Disney canon, but instead of doing it in chronological order, we're just, I have a number generator in my phone. So I just have 57 set up because there's 57 films. And so each month we entered in, like this month, it landed on 16. So we're doing Sleeping Beauty for the next month. And so that has been so much fun. And I think I almost prefer doing it that way. I mean, it is interesting doing it in chronological order, but this is a fun switch up too, to just never know whether you're going to be doing Home on the Range one month or or Aladdin the next month. So it's fun. I've really been enjoying it. I love talking to Stanford about. I've been doing obscure animation for a long time, but then starting last year, I moved it over to a podcast instead of edited video, and we've been doing that, me and Stanford, and that's been great. So I love doing those so much, and yeah, I just love getting to talk to my friends about all of these different things. We've done so much. My friend Tom, we've done Star Trek. We reviewed all the Star Trek movies, and then we've done 2 seasons of Star Trek Discovery. So that was really fun to dive into. My friend Abby and Jeremy, we did all the Star Wars movies. That was really fun. I've just gotten to experience a lot of really cool things. My friend David, we do every quarter, we do a preview and a wrap up, because he sees a million movies and I see quite a few, and we go through and we talk about them, and those are really fun. It's just great. I just love it. So
yeah. And then one other YouTube related question: when you started out, or maybe even now, did any YouTubers inspire you?
Well, the one that inspired me to start doing the unboxing videos, so one of the first ones was this YouTuber named Mortimer. She doesn't really post very much anymore, but she used to do unboxings, and she was just really cool. She was edgy, but fun and sweet, and I really was inspired by her channel. There's a YouTuber named The Lawn Gnome, who we both got to know, Steve, who is just the best at nurturing new channels, young channels, being really supportive. And like really early on, when I had just started my channel, when I just started doing movie reviews, I think I had done like 3. He contacted me about doing a collaboration. And so, he's just great that way. And so he's been an inspiration. You know, there's just so many. I've also always really just admired film critics in general. Just criticism is something I really value. Certainly the rotoscopers were a big influence for me, Morgan and Chelsea, as far as the podcast, and Mason. That was really influential, but also so many critics that I admire, like obviously Siskel and Ebert growing up. Leonard Maltin is a big hero of mine. Alonso Duralde and William Bibiani are both 2 of my favorites, and to get to interview them twice, both of them, was very surreal for me and a huge honor. And so yeah, it's kind of funny because on Hallmarkies we've interviewed all these actors and stuff, and the ones that I'm really excited about is the film critics. And Amber's like, "You're so weird." But I don't know. I always loved film critics.
Yeah, I remember when I was little, I used to watch. It might have been Siskel and Ebert. I don't remember. I was like a young teenager, I think. I would get up in the middle of the night, and I would watch this show about people talking about movies. Yeah. I think that influenced me. I just wish I could remember what show it was. I think it was Siskel and Ebert, but I can't say for sure because it's been so many years.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because most of the time I wouldn't have been able to see the movies that they were talking about, but I was just
I never had either.
to talk
I just
about
like
it.
watching people talk about them.
Yeah, to hear what they had to say. And I don't know, it's an interesting thing because I think we become so spoiler sensitive that like it's hurt criticism a little bit because people can't talk about things unless they, say, oh, this is spoiler filled or whatever. I guess give a warning, then you can. But I don't know. I just feel like I never worried about that for a second when I was just listening to them dissect different parts of different films. And if anything, it just tantalized me to then go and see it. And I mean, I guess there are big things that, yeah, I get it. You don't want to spoil these big things, but I don't know, I just feel like the whole idea of a spoiler originally was don't tell me who won the game, right? Like it was meant to be like, I'm taping the game, sports game, don't tell me who won. It wasn't don't tell me who was playing or don't tell me any insignificant detail of the thing that I'm going to be watching. And I feel like we've taken it too far where people, you tell them the most insignificant detail or that you even liked it. And they're like, oh, now you have robbed me of having the experience of stumbling upon it unknown or whatever. And I'm like, why are you watching the review then? Like, why? What?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just frustrating to me. I'm just like, I miss sometimes that discussion because I feel like everything just has to be kind of bland sometimes. But anyway, I try my best to. And that's why it's kind of nice with the family movie night because most of the time they're old movies, so people don't really care that much as opposed to new releases. But I still do some new releases, both on my blog and on my channel. It just depends.
Yeah, that's kind of how I'm thinking about leaning because I haven't seen a movie in a while, but I'm hopefully going to be seeing the second Lego movie tomorrow night. And
that'll be fun.
I don't know if I'll do a review or not. I think I kind of prefer doing the older ones just because I feel like I've seen it more often. I have more time to talk about it. And
I get that.
Okay, so I think that's all I have about you. So let's move on to like favorite things. So,
okay, let's do it.
So what is your favorite movie?
My favorite movie is Up from Pixar.
Okay. And favorite TV show?
My favorite TV show is probably The Simpsons. Also, I love Survivor. Huge Survivor fan. I also love Over the Garden Wall. It was one of my all-time favorites. I love ER and I love The Nanny. Those are some of my favorites.
Do you have a favorite Disney movie?
Well, I mean, I guess technically Up is a Disney movie, but as far as the canon, my favorite is The Little Mermaid.
Okay. And I guess you've already taken care of my next question, which is favorite Pixar movie.
Yeah.
Which is... My
second favorite is... It's a tie between Inside Out and the first Toy Story.
Okay. So is your favorite Disney character someone from that movie, or do you have a different favorite Disney character?
My favorite Disney character is Winnie the Pooh, actually.
Okay.
I love Winnie the Pooh.
And would Ariel be your favorite Disney princess, or do you have a different? And then if you have
it's interesting. I do love Ariel. I do. And I'm very defensive of her because I think most of the criticisms are very ridiculous. But I do also love Cinderella. I'm a huge Cinderella fan. So either probably, and I love Mulan. I love Moana. I love all the princesses, to be honest. But it'd probably either be Ariel or Cinderella, my favorite.
And then do you have a favorite specific prince, one that goes with the princess, or somebody completely different?
I think I forget. Sometimes I forget. I think it's Shang. In Mulan is actually my favorite. He's definitely the hunkiest for sure. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite book and or book series?
I think that my favorite books are, my favorite classic novel is North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. Absolutely love it. I read it almost every year. And then my favorite modern book is The Book Thief by Marcus Zussek. It's just completely brilliant to me in every way. Absolutely love it. And I also love Jane Austen and Little Women. One of my favorites. Okay. Also love Anne of Green Gables.
And then this one, I think I'll change this question slightly because you kind of already answered it.
Oh,
You
sorry.
have, you have a favorite animated movie that's not Disney or Pixar?
My favorite animated movie, well, I don't know if it counts as Disney because they did kind of distribute it, but it would be Spirited Away is my favorite, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know if that counts as Disney. But from the other studios, I love Song of the Sea. I absolutely love The Prince of Egypt, one of my favorites, and I love Secret of Nim.
Okay. Do you have a favorite television animated series, either past and or present?
Well, I love The Simpsons. I love Over the Garden Wall. I love Hilda. Was amazing last year. I love Gravity Falls. Was incredible.
Yes.
I love Star Wars Rebels. Was great.
Mm-hmm.
I really love Elena of Avalor. I think that's great. And Star vs. the Forces of Evil.
Oh yeah.
Really great.
There's a lot these days. Disney is putting out a lot of good content.
Yeah, I really like the new DuckTales.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, there's really good.
Okay. So do you have a favorite animator or artist?
I mean, I love Mary Blair back in the day. She was
Yeah.
amazing. I love her geometric style to everything. I sometimes wish we could have gotten a movie that was just her concept art because it was so cool.
That would have been a good movie.
Yeah, right? It would have been so good.
The closest we probably got was like Alice in Wonderland. That was closer to her style, I think, than anything else she did for it.
Which I love. I love Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
And I'm maybe not quite as much as you, but I really do love it.
Yeah.
And I love Pete Docter. I love Brad Bird. I love Tom Moore, who did Song of the Sea. Those are some of my favorites. I mean, I love Miyazaki. Amazing.
Oh, yeah, of course. When you were a kid, what was your favorite cartoon?
Little Mermaid.
Okay.
I mean, I knew every line, every song. It was really the first music I ever fell in love with, not just movie. First music. My sister and I would have competitions at night because we shared a room of who sounded the most like Ariel. It was, of course, me every time. And you can ask my brother. He'll still roll his eyes and be like, "Oh, Little Mermaid," because I was absolutely obsessed and I absolutely loved it. And so, yeah.
So this one, I don't know if this will be the same or not, but what was the first animated movie that you remember seeing?
It was Little Mermaid was the first one I remember seeing. And then I also have vivid memory of seeing Beauty and the Beast at the Villa Theater here in Utah, which had a balcony, which was like very special, to go to the fancy theater. And it's so sad now because it still exists and they sell rugs in there, which is so depressing. Somebody somewhere should restore the Villa Theater. I had a lot of money. That's what I would do. But anyway, yeah, I vividly remember that. I remember actually also going to the Villa Theater to see Fantasia. And
that would have been amazing.
That was amazing. Yeah. I also remember seeing The Rescuers and being terrified as a kid. I did not like that movie at all. And with my mom, it's not animated, but I have vivid memory of seeing Home Alone. That was the first movie that I ever really laughed hard in the theater at. I saw it with my grandparents when I was 9, and I just thought it was the funniest thing, and I still love it.
Then, what is your favorite animation studio?
Well, it actually is a hard question because Pixar had such a winning streak for so long, and they've never really made a movie that I've outright hated. I still can find sort of value in even Cars 2 or whatever. But in Walt Disney Animated Studios has made movies that I've hated. I mean, Rescuers I kind of hate. But I still got to go with Walt Disney. I mean, Animated Studios for sure. And that's Studio Ghibli is amazing too. Those are definitely the top 3, no question. Yeah,
definitely.
No question.
And then my last question, I feel like you'll probably have an interesting answer. You've seen so many now. What is your favorite obscure animated movie?
Yeah, so you can listen to our podcast. It's hard to say what exactly is obscure and what's not obscure. But I mean, I don't know if something like Song of the Sea would be considered obscure, but if it is, then that would definitely be my answer. Because I just thought it was one of the most beautiful. It was a really, really moving experience for me because the whole movie is about this little boy dealing with grief of his mother and never really get to say goodbye. And he gets through various magic and this relationship with his sister, he gets to kind of have that moment with his mom. And just about, I think, 2 months before I had seen the movie, my cousin had passed away and she had 2 little boys, and her and just going through the funeral with all of them and everything. And then when I saw the movie, it just was like so close to home that I was a wreck. And it really like moved me so much. And I just thought it was so emotionally true and so beautiful that is definitely one of them for sure. I really like a little movie called Rocks in My Pockets, which is by this lady named Signe Beaumanet, I think is her name. And she goes through the history of her family and their history of mental illness, and basically how all of these women in her family committed suicide. But like, which sounds like, obviously it's a very serious topic and it's a very somber topic, but like she does it with this really creative animation, and it ends up feeling, I think, very refreshing and very honest and very creative. And so if you're looking for something just a little outside the box, I think it's worth checking out. I thought it was very emotionally true and very honest about something that's hard to be honest about.
Yeah, I don't think I've heard of that one.
Yeah, it's good. It's been very different, but if you're looking for something quirky and different, check it out.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's all my questions. Thanks for coming back and doing that with me.
Yeah, I hope it's fun for you.
You will definitely be back because we're going to be recording another episode right now. We're going to be talking about our favorite movies from 2018.
I feel like I could almost do a whole podcast just on one of those questions. But anyway.
Yeah, kinda. Okay, well, I guess we'll see you guys in the next podcast episode.
Yeah, thanks so much. It was fun.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to this episode of the iHeart Podcast, and thanks to Rachel for joining me. Rachel will be back in another episode soon. While we recorded our Q&A, we also recorded a whole other podcast talking about our favorite films, and a few of our least favorite films of 2018. In the meantime, if you'd like more from Rachel, I'll have links in the description for you to find her YouTube channel, as well as both her podcasts. Next week, we'll be going back to what I had originally planned to be the second half of episode 1, and we'll be revisiting a review that Sarah and I did covering the hilariously bad 1931 version of Alice in Wonderland. This is one of my least favorite versions that we've watched, but one of my favorite versions that we've reviewed. I'm really looking forward to this one, so we'll see you then.